Hello, my fellow weirdos and wildlings and seekers and dreamers. It is I, Vi Phoenix, the Abysmal Witch, coming to you with my abysmal perspective. Once again, poking at the standard view held in the world and whether or not it is one that actively serves us as individuals, as a pagan community, as a global community. Yeah, that's what we're doing today. We're poking the dark side. We're poking the decay cycle. We are poking on the cycle of life that, again, we even call it the cycle of life. How about the cycle of death? Oh no, that's too dark and too dreary. No, it's not. It's the cycle of death. When you think about it, it's as valid a statement as the cycle of life. When we talk about the cycle of life, we're talking about, okay, so there's some sexy times or some asexy times if you're the type of creature that can asexually reproduce yourself, probably by budding. Can you imagine? Little of budding and suddenly feeling like a mogwai? Before they were gremlins, they're mogwai? Anyway, hello 80 movies. So, cycle of life, you know, there's that creational spark moment where the one becomes two, or in the case of sexual reproduction, two becomes one, and nutrients go in, life grows. You know, to be a living thing, I think some of the criteria is it needs to eat shit and reproduce. In essence, that's considered living. So, you know, we eat, we digest nutrients, we take in what we need in order to have vitality, so life, you know, that energy to keep moving, and to do things and to grow, and then we discard what we don't need, so that would be the shitting part, and then and life has the ability to reproduce, which you have to kind of question that part a little bit, but it doesn't matter for this discussion. The point of this discussion is the cycle of life is that you come into living, you eat things to stay alive, and then, well, one day you're no longer alive. But cycle of life, right, includes death, but it focuses on the living. What if we talk about the cycle of death? If we talk about the cycle of death, then sure, there's that moment of creation of the new thing. Cool. It's kind of like, you know, the cycle of life ends in death, but we don't call it the cycle of death. The cycle of death begins with life, but we don't call it the cycle of life. We're going to call it the cycle of death. It begins in life, and everything else is about death. It's about, in order for us to go forward, something else dies. Okay, so that's kind of playing with the cycle of death, but where I'm actually going to focus in on is the cycle of the decay and the beauty of decay. We struggle with decay, and very justifiably so. I think that there is a very real, strong, and healthy aversion to come, there's room, come, quick, you took too long. You try and help people while they're driving. Oh well, what can you do? The healthy aversion to decay is that as the type of, we're mammals. We're the mammalian creatures that we are, the way that we are designed. When we encounter decay or rot, we experience an aversion to it, which is very justifiable because the biological processes that are happening at that point would not give us vitality. They would likely make us sick. Right? We are not designed like the turkey vultures to be able to handle eating anything and everything and not getting sick from it. In fact, I mean, hello, botulism, right? Like, we need to cook our food. Chicken must be cooked. There is no chicken sushi for very, very, very smart reasons. Because that is how things work. And I just remembered and I'd forgotten that there was all of them. Okay, well, we're gonna go that way. Construction on the route. It's really messing with my world and my brain because I only discovered it yesterday. So we are not designed for it. So having an aversion to it is good. Having a physiological aversion to things that are likely to make us sick and then die is a really great survival mechanism. That is fabulous. Cool. What I think we, in the global community way, need in order to survive and to evolve as a species is to overcome, work through, move beyond the biological imperatives and impulses that underlie much of what we do. So in one, amusingly, one of the other ones for me on a really big level is regarding sexual reproduction and moving beyond that imperative drive that lives inside of our mammalian selves going, we must have children. We don't need more children on this planet. We do need some, but if we're going to survive as a species, we really got to let that go, in my opinion. And if we're going to really evolve our perspectives and our understanding, we also need to move beyond ew is bad from that letting that biological drive and perspective drive our viewpoint. Because decay and rot is good. Could you imagine if things didn't decay and rot? You're like, yeah, it sounds lovely. No, it sounds horrible, because everything would just sit there, existing forever, not changing, being this pile, ever-growing pile of lifeless husks that don't go away, right? Decay is what is the other half of the cycle. You live, you grow old, so you start to decay while living, right? You don't have the same regenerative qualities, right? We start to break down, just still living, breaking down, as opposed to after you're dead and other things start to break down you into your component pieces. In order to, it's basically nature's recycling, right? Decay and rot. That is Terra's, as in the planet, recycling program. That's how it works. And perhaps part of our struggle, philosophically speaking, I was going to a place of, we're not allowing decay and rot and embracing it in a healthy way. Perhaps this also adds to the stripped quality to the world around us, that it is not as nurturing and robust as it was. And there's so many more reasons as to why that is. And, the way that we engage with growing things for efficiency and really money's sake, we end up with things that are tasteless and lower nutritional value, but hey, it'll fill you up. Technically, it'll fill the hollow of the mechanics, but it doesn't serve the system in the same way. Anyhow, side notes, decay, rot, is, in my opinion, an incredibly, I'm going to say this is beyond my opinion. It is an incredibly important part of it. Where do you think dirt comes from? If you listen to my early episode about the element of earth and getting into that differentiation between what is stone and what is dirt. What is earth actually? What are we talking about when we talk about the element of earth? Dirt is made up of not just little bits of stone and stuff. It is also made up of mostly decayed matter, right? Dirt is that which has been processed by the bugs and the grubs and the bacteria into component pieces that can then be taken up again by the plants, which then gets taken up again by the animals, and then by other animals, and then by us, and then we put ourselves as embalmed things into the ground, or ashes. We do not go back and nourish the ground, which is so unfortunate. Let me rot when I go back. anyway, that is where my tirade is at for this morning. Yeah, I'm just having a look at my notes because I was having this kind of fun little thought a while ago, actually. Most of this is from yesterday, but that when we talk about the life cycle, we have herbivores and carnivores, and therefore omnivores, which eat both. That was very hard to say for some reason. Then it can be tempting to go, well, see, that's death. You know, we don't eat it live, as a general rule. That's true. We don't eat it live. We kill it, then we eat it. And the fact is, we kill it, and then we either eat it right away or we do something to preserve it so we can eat it later. We preserve it in the state that it had upon its death when it was closest to life. We do not eat it once we are in the decay land. I mean, aside from some of the transformative things such as alcohol. Hi, yeast, you do such great things with transformation. Though I would not say that's necessarily decay in the same way, but it has a relationship to it. It's taking something and it is breaking it down into other component pieces. But I digress, which is not uncommon for me. So if we've got our herbivores and our carnivores, and again, we're eating as close to life as could be, because if it goes into the state of decay and rot, it's no longer safe for us to eat. We are not designed for it. Earlier I mentioned turkey vultures. If you have not checked out turkey vultures, you should. Oh my God, I think somewhere somebody must have them as a spirit animal, because they are just wickedly weird. Love them in a horrified way. Their stomach acid level is so high, they can eat anything, like anything. It ain't gonna kill them. They are part of the decay cycle, and they are birds mammals. You know, that's one of those fundamental things I really should know, and now I'm having that moment of a birds mammals. But they are, I think so. I don't know, but you know what I mean. They're in that kind of grouping of things. They're not the type of, we don't think of birds as being part of the death cycle. We don't think of them as being part of that decaying world. Like birds are like us. They'll eat the worms and stuff. They're part of the life cycle. Turkey vultures, they're like, well, I could eat you alive, but also I'd rather eat you dead. Hey, you're rotting. That's awesome. All the carrion birds are in that part of that death cycle. Hail to the carrion birds, baby. And the turkey vultures, when they get too hot, it's bizarre. They shit on their legs. They shit on their legs to help cool themselves off. And I think one of their defense mechanisms is vomiting at predators, which you can imagine. I mean, with the high level of acid in the stomach and what they eat, I don't know. They're horrible, and they viscerally are offensive to our mammalian natures, because that is so far away from where we need to be and where we need to eat. We would get sick if we kept shitting on ourselves, because the bacteria, we cannot handle that bacteria. So it is just like, no. And vomits its whole story. We're not going to go any further into that one. But we certainly would not eat things that are decaying and rotting like that. It would harm us. It would make us sick. So they are very different to us. And I think that's why it can be hard to go, yeah, no, I love them. They're awesome. I'm like, I don't know that I want to cuddle one, but I do recognize their awesomeness and the purpose that they serve. And I would argue that they are a necrovore. That's right. I think we should have a new word for that. A necrovore. They eat death. They eat the things that are not preserved at that final moment of death, final moment of life when they transitioned into death, when that preserved thing that's where we eat. We actually have a very finite window of when things are okay. And in a sense, I feel like with fruits and stuff that continue to ripen after they've been on the vine, there is a stretch during which it's almost as if they are continuing out a life cycle with that ripening. And then they will cross past the ripe stage into the, oh no, hello, welcome to the bacteria that's taking over, and rot has set in. So some things preserve themselves quite easily and naturally. Other things we preserve, such as meats with salts. We cure meat by salting it, I believe. Those, and canning. Canning is a way of taking the state of it and putting it, the fresh state of life just become death, putting it into a state of being that we can then eat a year or two later. Add some sugar, make some jam. You can eat that years later, not a problem. But it's because it was preserved in that state of ended life that we can eat. We cannot eat that which has decayed. But I do think it's important that we recognize the value of it and engage energetically with the cycle of death so that we're bringing more balance into ourselves. There are things in our lives, we've become so anti-decay and rot and that which dies and that which goes away that it is fundamentally strangling us as a global community. That is a rant for a different day. Today is just inviting you to admire the turkey vulture and to embrace the idea that necrovore, if I'm an herbivore, I don't know. I was like, if you're eating, lost myself in that one trying to think of how the words would apply in a different scenario. That being a vegetarian, so a necrovorian? Would you be a necrovorian if that's what you eat is death? Anyway, being a necrovore is a good thing when that which is designed for it is doing its job, doing it well. It means that there will be more life later. It means that we keep the cycles in balance. It is both cycles together that has us moving through. If we didn't have the underbelly, if you will, of the cycle, if it was all up and never down, then it's a very different experience and not really one that's conducive to us actually being able to live lives that are lives, actually. We wouldn't be able to live. All right, it's extra rambly today. When is it not extra rambly, right? You could stop now. Stop now if I was you, because I'm done. I am done with the talking of the topic and the things, and now I'm just finishing up my drive. If you want to, you can hang out with me on these last minutes, because apparently I'm going to keep babbling, because what am I going to do? Sit my thoughts for the 3 minutes of the continued drive? Check out the forested area. I will say that the end of my drive is the prettiest part as we travel through this wonderful, beautiful landscape that is the unceded, traditional, and sacred territory of the Musqueam peoples of the Coast Salish. And Musqueam, I believe, means people of the river grasses. So not of the river, but the river grasses. Musqueam is a type of plant that grows in the watery, marshy areas. I've never actually seen musqueam plant that I am aware of, but still, all honor to them and gratitude, for this is the place where I live, and I have done some magical work in this beautiful space. And I am an uninvited settler. I was never invited to this land. I have arrived here, and I have nowhere else to go and nowhere else I want to go. This is my home. But long ago, somebody else lost this home in order for it to be that case. And so I reap the rewards of the cost to someone else, which I suppose, in a way, is getting back into today's topic, sort of looking at those cycles and recognizing and honoring when one is overriding another. Colonialism. It has a drive forth that is interesting, but it does come at cost. I was really trying not to go into some deeper place. And I was trying to stay with the trees. Happy trees. Okay. Totally traveling to the side now. Happy trees. Does that mean anything to you? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you understand what I'm talking about when I say happy trees? Do you understand that I'm talking about Bob Ross? The Bob Ross of the Joy of Painting, he was he was on public television when I was a kid, and you can find on YouTube, and still his son, I believe, continues on the legacy, and it's wet on wet technique for oil painting, and that was my pandemic hobby. But if you need some relaxing help for getting to sleep, if you want to watch something, or you need something to lift your mood up and to calm you down at the same time, you watch Bob Ross, Joy of Painting. You watch him paint a picture in like 23 or 25 or 28 minutes, however long the episodes were. He does a whole painting, and he has this zen, cheerful quality that is remarkable, utterly remarkable. He's one of those people that just became, I think, iconic because of the nature of himself that he brought into play. Like, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Like, blanking on Mr. Dress Up? No. I'm so sorry. I am blanking on, oh, won't you be, oh, won't you be, oh, won't you be my neighbor? Tom Hanks played him in the movie. I'm so sorry that maybe it is Mr. Dress Up. I don't know. I feel like that's not correct. And Robin Williams. I feel like all three of them brought such a positivity in the best sense of the word. And they radiated it out to the point where we watch them on screen and have our own visceral, joyful, mirrored reaction to them. Like, they just made us feel better, you know, not a forceful, come on, you have to be more positive, you gotta feel good. No, just this, they were in that state, and by being in that state, they just invited us to join them there. It was almost like a gravitational pull of like, yeah, I want to be in that state. I want to be with you. I want to feel that the world is beautiful and safe. I'm really thinking of, was it Mr. Rogers? It was probably Mr. Rogers. Oh, poor brain. But thinking Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross in particular. I mean, Robin Williams absolutely struggled, and weirdly, Bob Ross was in the military. Go figure on that one. I mean, we're talking about a guy who would have periodically, he'd show clips of him with squirrels, baby squirrels, because he was that person who he just, of course, he rescued baby squirrels and took care of them and re-released them into the wild. Of course he did, because he was that person. You know, like Mr. Rogers. It was just, we need to have that care and compassion. That is a lovely thought. That is the thought I'm going to take with me. Care and compassion into the day. Care and compassion also for the cycle of death that it brings us. How does the cycle of death bring us into care and compassion? How does it care for us? Oh, future things to have fun and think about and talk about. I sincerely doubt that I was trying for sincerely. I'm not sure it came out that way. That, I don't know. Well, if anyone made it to this point, if you had made it to this point, say, may the spirit of joyful ones live on. Put it in a comment. And then I know someone made it to the end. I don't know why you did, but I welcome you to it. It has been wonderful taking my morning drive with you. Thank you for keeping me company. It has been a good approach to the day. Take absolute wonderful best care of yourself. Care for yourself the way that Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers would. Blessings of the weird and the wild to you. Blessed be.